Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to complete the Color Master tutorial here on this Design Dojo exercise. Alright, so the point of the Color Master exercise is to show you how you can use the built-in color features in Adobe Illustrator. I know we've used a few things with color before, but this is going to show us some of those advanced features that make Illustrator really powerful for making full color designs. So the first thing, we're familiar with this already. We're going to make this gray swatch RGB red. So our document here is set in RGB. If we go over to our swatch, if we mouse over the names of the colors, we can see that this one is called RGB red, right? We can see RGB green, RGB blue. Those are on a computer screen, full RGB values, meaning that the pixels on that pixel, only the red part of the pixel fires up. So let's click on red and keep on moving up. The next one says to make the gray swatch match the gold one. So to make any kind of colors match, what you first need to do is grab the item you want to change the color of, then go over the sidebar. We're going to grab our eyedropper tool or hit I. Then come back and click on the color we want to steal from, right? We could take this, but yeah, you can take things from all over the place. You do have to change some settings if you take it from a place that's not enabled. I won't bother right now. The next one says change the gray swatch to the hex 228B22 forest green. So hex keys are the kind of ways that RGB displays interpret colors. The internet in particular only accepts colors that are in hex format. So understanding your color selections is really important because things like web browsers have a very limited amount of colors that they can display. So how do we get specifically this 228B22 format color? Well, what you need to do is go over to the fill, and you'll see if you go over to the palette, our project today is in CMYK color, so it's actually kind of hard to do it this way. The way I do it is go back to my swatches. I'm going to go in and make a new swatch, and we can see that the color type is process color, all good. Color mode though, we actually want to go down to a thing called web safe RGB, right? Because that's what these hex codes represent. Each one of those two letters and numbers corresponds with a different RGB value. All you need to do is type them in order: 228B, and it doesn't matter if your B is capital or not, and then 22. And then when we're done, we say OK, and look, a nice forest green for the computer. Okay, the next one is creating a global swatch. So what we want to do is select this, and we want to go in and turn this into a global color selection. So what we need to do is go, and this looks good, right? We just want to make sure that the button that says global is selected. So we say OK. Now, we also want to make sure that these other items here, actually, that they're not like this. See how this global one has a little white triangle on it? We're going to make it be a global swatch. And for the sake of making the next exercise fun, we're going to make sure this one's a global swatch. Okay. So now that we've changed a global color selection, if I go back here, right, and go into my swatches panel, and I change the color here, if I go in here, and it says on step 5, these two steps kind of go together, right? If we go in and say that we want to make this thing be yellow, which means I'm going to turn up the amount of red, turn down the amount of blue. That's like a pretty good yellow. At least the yellow that I like. I mean, if you want it to be blazing, you might turn the green up a little bit. But, that's more of a yellow that I like. I'm going to say okay, and watch what happens. So, when you adjust a global color, what you really end up doing is you change all the things that have that color applied. This can be really important if you're not sure what you want the final color of something to be. You can quickly build a color scheme that you can change using these global color settings. Okay, level 6, a little art theory here. We'll talk more about this when I get back, gang, but when you're creating different colors, there are things called tints and shades. A tint is to add more white value to a color, and a shade is to add more black value to a color. So, to get the tints and shades menu up, we need to select our color, and then if we go up to window, we can find the color guide window. Alright, so if yours is like mine, it might not be on the right mode. So to change this, we can go up to these little 3 menu options here. And we want to change this from show warm cool or whatever yours is on. And make sure it says show tints and shades. And we want to make sure that, it's actually doing it for the color that we care about. So you can see it's already giving us some sort of color scheme here by default. But to create a shade, you can see that it's giving us 4 additional values of this pink color with more or less black value added on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, we can come over and see what that looks like with more white value added. That way you can get colors that are all exactly chromatic without having to do any kind of guesswork. Did I drag the slider perfectly to the left? We get perfectly in harmony shades and tints. Okay, the next one is to create muted and vivid colors. Well, muted and vivid live in the same place that tints and shades do. We're just going to go down to vivid and muted. Again, we want to make sure that our color that we want is actually selected. And what muted is going to do is it's going to reduce the amount of color value or increase the amount of color value. Right? So we can get one where it's drifting towards gray over here. And then this is one where the purple's intensity is just being completely amped up. So we can see different shades that are muted and different ones that are made vivid. The next one is to create color harmony. We're going to grab this color and we're going to create a triadic color harmony. So let's grab this. And then we'll hop over. Sorry, I didn't mean to double click. I'm going to come back over here. And if you go up here, you'll see there are all kinds of color harmony rules that are set to create perfect color patterns based on different color complement systems. If we specifically want a triad, right, 3 colors that go together, evenly spaced along the color wheel, we can grab this one. Right, so then we can come in here, maybe we go here, go here, go here, and look, a perfect triad of color complements. The 9th step here, out of 11, we just need to learn how to convert colors from RGB to Pantone. So, what's the purpose of this? When we're working on a computer, right, we're just telling the screen to display different values of red and green and blue. When we send things off to be printed, or perhaps manufactured out of different materials, like t-shirt color, for example, or the color for a piece of plastic, we need to be very specific about what color we're talking about. Well, there's a company out there called Pantone that has systems in place to check color values, and companies often pay a lot of money, manufacturing companies pay a lot of money to make sure that the things that they produce come out being very specific colors so that you can request this certain Pantone value, and then if the company uses the Pantone system, they can guarantee with a certain accuracy what the color of the shirt or the product is going to be. So, and we want to change this RGB value to a universally accepted Pantone value. Remember, Pantone's actually a company, though. We want to go up to here where it says Edit, and then we're going to go down to Edit Colors. And we want to go in and recolor the artwork. Now, this doesn't give us enough information, so we got to go down to Advanced Options. Alright, so we've got our blue here, the same one we're looking at. If we want to change it, we need to go over to this menu. Let me look at that again. These little 6 dots here, it says it limits the color group to colors in a swatch library. We want to go into color books, and these are all different companies that produce specific colors. Pantone is probably the largest, most accepted in the United States. So we're going to use this one for Pantone Solid Coated. That's the most standard Pantone color system. We'll click on that. And look, it has now limited the amount of colors to match this Pantone shade. And it says here, notice some may no longer be available because of Pantone licensing. Like I said, guys, it's a company. These things change. Okay, the next one. We're going to learn how to convert this beautiful color image, this beautiful color vector, actually, not really an image, into grayscale. It requires us to go back to that Edit Colors menu and recolor artwork. Now, we could try to mess around with this here, right? But I think if you try to do it this way, you're not going to have a great time. I personally like to use my advanced options here. And if the mode here is set to HSB, hue, saturation, brightness, right, we should be able to just desaturate all of our colors, right, to give us different gray values. Now, if that doesn't look exactly how you want it, you could adjust the brightness, right, to bring them into a zone that you want. That's one way to convert this to grayscale. Another way, right, you could use your color guide and go through this thing individually and pick some of these muted, fully muted values. I don't know about you. That seems like too much work, especially if I'm trying to make this all match. It's not the right way to do it. You really want to go in and recolor your artwork. That's going to make sure that you get every single piece of this thing, because look at these cherry blossoms. You don't want to go in and select all those different cherry blossoms. All right, final one. Remember, Command Shift 3. Oh, no, just Command 3. Command Shift 3 takes a picture. Command 3 will take those doors away. And we're going to recolor the right image to match the left image. All right, guys, I'm going to select that right image here and go to Edit. And go down to Edit Colors, and I'm going to recolor this artwork. Now, again, I don't think the right way to do this is to go into the regular settings. I want to go into the advanced options. And look, this is nice for us. They've already given us a color group for these specific colors. So if you have a color group, right, you can use this. But let's say that you didn't. You were just trying to change things. You could click on the new color, right, and pick a new color one by one. Yeah, right. You could say, I want to make this be neon green, and suddenly the background goes neon green. Hopefully that's not what you're into. So we're going to grab these design colors from our color scheme, right? Maybe you work for a company and you have official company colors. You could grab those and put them in. Now we're pretty close. We just need to flip-flop the sun's rays to this pagoda mountain scene. To do that, we just actually need to drag and switch the position of those two colors. It's that simple, folks. So, now that we've recolored the image, say OK. And you're done. It's color in Adobe Illustrator. Hopefully you did okay. I will be back on Wednesday, guys. Hope to see you then. All right, bye.